Yes, good morning, class. Thank you very much for connecting to Metric Hub. I just want to welcome you to one channel that is so strong for your academic success. One stop channel for all your academic success. Note that Metric Hub is there for you. It is catering from grade 8 to grade 12, as well as post metric. Uh, Here, we only guarantee success, we guarantee distinctions, and we avoid by every chance repeats. So please connect now, join membership, click on join and follow the prompts that are there. That would also help you to keep connected to this channel so that together we can do better. So please, without wasting any time, today we are going to work on Icass preparation and also end of year, end of term, end of trimester exams. This is a typical paper that is of April 2026, April 2025. So let us just go quickly through the paper so that we can just save our data and time. Don't lose your NSFAS by just being arrogant, failing to connect to Metric Hub. Here we support you. So there are questions that we are going to work on right now. Instructions are always very important, class. Whenever you are writing exams, you should always know that you follow instructions, read instructions first and foremost, because each paper has got its own instructions, as well as each section has got its own instructions. So please be aware of those. So I'm just going to go straight to the paper right now. This one, it says question 1, indicate whether the following statements are true or false by writing only true or false next to the question number in the answer book. The question has got 10 marks. So here now, we are given that you only write the answer, class. You are only going to write either true or false. You don't write the full statement. Write the question number and the answer only. So the first question is saying, building firms are typed according to their sizes. Building firms are typed according to their sizes. Is it true or false? In this respect, it is true. It is true that building firms are typed according to their sizes. It is true. What you need to know is that building firms are classified as small, as medium, or large, depending on their size, depending on their resources, number of employees, and the type of project that they handle. So they are typed according to their size, which can be classified according to number of employees employed, type of projects, as well as resources that they use. So it is true that the answer is true in that question. Question 1.2, some of the departments in large building firms are contracts estimating and costing. Some large departments in building firms are contracts estimating and costing. Uh, the answer is also true. Large firms usually have got different departments. Large firms, they have got different departments. They have got different departments, which I want you to understand that the different departments can be contracts, they can be estimating, they can be costing, they can be human resources, procurement, marketing, and whatsoever. So each department or each of these departments are responsible for specific functions, which we can say large organizations or large firms, they have got functional areas. So the answer is true. Question 9.3, the buying department is also known as procurement department. Buying department is also known as procurement department. Buying department purchases material and services. The function is also called what? Procurement. That is also true. When we talk about buying, it is procurement. What is being purchased? We purchase material, purchasing of services, purchasing of equipment. All that is called procurement. So it is true. Recommendation is one method to obtain business. recommendation is one method. Recommendation is one method to obtain business. That is true also. That is true. Recommendation is one way to obtain business. That is true. What happens is that company can get new work through recommendations, which we sometimes call referrals. And then these are from satisfied clients, clients who have dealt with the business before, we have worked with the business before. What they do is they also recommend, they also make referrals because of their satisfaction. So it is true, number 4. And then number 5, the Human Resources Department is responsible for recruitment of workers for the company. The Human Resources Department, it is true that the HR handles it. HR, what it does hiring, it does training, it does hiring, it does training, it does also staff welfare and discipline. It can be staff welfare and discipline. They all fall as what? As HR functions. So the answer is what? It is true. It is true that HR department is responsible for recruitment. It is responsible for hiring, that we call recruitment as well as staff welfare and discipline. They are under labor relations issues, which can also be fairly defined as human resources function. There are three types of tenders. There are three types of tenders, which we can also say is true. What happens is that common types of tenders, we have got these common type of tenders. We have got open, we have got closed, closed, which sometimes we say that it is closed, which can also be called closed, can also be called selective. It is also called selective. And then we have got negotiated or requested. And finally, we can say, finally, we have what is called negotiated, which can also be called rotation, or which can also be called request. So there are three. As you can see, we have got three types of tenders. We have got open, we have got closed or selective, we have got negotiated, which we say negotiated can also be called what? Rotation, or requested, or a request. So these are three types of tenders, which is true to say that there are three. And then number 4, number 6, 7, closed tenders, rotation tenders, and request tenders are closed tenders. Number 7, what we are saying, closed tenders, rotation tenders, and request tenders are closed tenders. These types of tenders are only invited from selected contractors, not open to public. Hence, we can say that they are called what? Closed. So the answer is what? Is true. They are not just open to the public, but they are only have offered and given to invited, only invited from selected contractors. So they are not open. Number 8, digital media channels of advertising are reliable. Digital channels of advertising are reliable. These we can talk about. What are these ones? We talk about websites. We talk about websites. Websites is an example. We talk about emails. We talk about social media. These are examples of digital channels of advertising. They are not reliable. That is false. They are very reliable. It's the latest trends in today's communication. We talk about digital advertising as the most effective one because of the diversity and also the globalization issue that we need to understand that of today, business is no longer geographically demarcated, but it is worldwide. So because of the worldwide nature, we are able to socialize, we are able to meet clients who are everywhere on the globe, irrespective of the location of the business. So digital media channels of advertising, they are quite reliable. We buy things in America, we buy things in various countries which we are not, we have never been there. So that is not true. So the answer is false. Number 9, small firms specialize with projects such as renovations and house construction. That is also true. Renovations and and house construction, they are small projects which we can say that these are usually allocated and run by small firms. They handle these extensions and renovations as well as demolition, and we call those under house construction. So the answer is true. Number 10, accounting department, estimating department, costing department do the same work. Number 10, we are saying accounting department, estimating department, and costing department do the same work. The answer is false. This is false. They don't do the same work. It is false. Why do we say that it's false? Accounting manages finances and payments. Accounting, it focuses on financing and payments. And then we say the estimating department, it actually works with calculates project cost before construction, works with, it focuses on costs before construction. And then we can talk about the costing. We are saying estimating, it also calculates project cost before construction. And then the costing department, what does it do? The costing, it actually works with tracks actual cost during construction. They are not actually related departments. They are costing, it tracks actual costs. It tracks actual costs during construction. So as such, I want you to understand that these are different departments. That is why we say that they are not the same. They are not, or they don't do the same work. They don't do the same work. So that is why we say that it is what? It is false. That is why we say it is false. So please, you need to be quite aware of these points so that when it comes to exam, these are just bonus marks, which I expect that we are able to pass and get the maximum points as they require or as we can from these points. So I would like you to always be quite informed and try to make sure that when you answer these questions, you don't just answer for the sake of answering J, but you answer them with knowledge and understanding of the background of what is happening. We want to go to the next question. The next question says, uh, distinguish between distinguish between contracts managers and project managers. Contract managers and project managers. So we want to understand that the contract manager actually manages all the contracts related to a specific construction project. Contract managers, what they do is they actually manages all the contracts, all the contracts related to a specific project. Related to a specific related to a specific project. So project manager, where list project manager, where list project manager, what does he do? Project manager, he oversees the project as a whole and its overall project progress. Project manager oversees, he oversees the project as a whole. He oversees the project as a whole and actually checks its progress. The progress is of very important to the project manager. He has to see to it that the progress is the project is finished. So for that reason, what we are saying, or what you need to know, is that the contract manager, he only manages all the contracts related to a specific contracts related to a specific project, contracts related to a specific project, and then the project manager, he oversees the project as a whole, the project as a complete thing, and evaluates and checks the progress of each thereof. So you need to understand that is the main difference that we can give there. So you shall see that in question, you differentiate between project manager and contract manager. Explain two regulations that talk about traffic control. Two regulations that regulations regarding traffic control on site. Traffic management plan must be developed by the employer. One, traffic management plan must be developed by the employer. The employer must have a traffic management plan. So now what we are saying is the movement of traffic on site must be well managed. There must be a plan that executes or that narrates how traffic must be moving, that actually tries to avoid chances of accidents. We also want to understand that minimize vehicle movement on site, reducing or minimize traffic movement on site must be minimized, so that we also try to ensure that accidents are not that much. That is very important, that traffic movement must be not random, it must be minimized. That would also try to ensure that accidents are kept at the lowest possible chances. And then we can also talk about vehicles are not allowed to reverse on temporary roads. Vehicles are not allowed to reverse, are not allowed to reverse on temporary roads. On temporary roads, only the road must be only one way traffic, only one-way traffic, only one-way traffic. Traffic must be moving in one way. It must be known that. And then we also need to ensure that keep vehicles and pedestrians away from each other. Vehicles and pedestrians must be kept away from each other. Vehicles and pedestrians must be kept away from each other. There must be a pedestrian way, which would also ensure that pedestrians, as they walk around the premises, there is no vehicles that might bump and disturb them. So vehicles and pedestrians must be kept away from each other. Again, we also maybe need to ensure that there must be signs and instructions that controls traffic movement. There must be signs and instructions that regulate the movement of traffic on site. Maybe lastly, I would want you to know that we must also ensure visibility on site for vehicles and operators. Ensure visibility on site for vehicles and operators that they should be directors, they should be people, they should be signages that also ensure visibility on site for vehicles and operators that they need to ensure that accidents are avoided. And then we have got the next question, which says, describe an artisan. Describe an artisan. An artisan are skilled workers who practice a specific trade with relevant qualification. That's what we call an artisan. A skilled workers, artisans. These are skilled workers. Skilled workers who practice a specific trade. Who practice a specific trade who practice a specific trade with the relevant qualification. So now, when a person practices a specific trade and then the person has got the qualification for that trade, we are saying the person is skilled, as to say he is trained. The moment the person is trained, it means he has got the knowledge. He also have the qualifications, not only just knowing it by working, by experience, but we are saying you need to have the specific knowledge of the trade and also have the qualifications thereof. Then the person is defined or can be classified as an artisan. Uh, list 5 preliminaries to consider when preparing a site. List preliminaries to consider when list preliminaries to consider when preparing a site. When we are saying these are the first items to consider when a site is to be prepared. One, we talk about there must be security. Security must be in place. Security must be in place. When preparing a site, there must be security. We also talk about site signage boards. I'm sure you have seen these site signage boards. Signage board must be there, which actually identifies what is happening. It also controls traffic and people movement. That site, the site signage board. We also need to have, number 3, entry and exit controls. A site must have entry and exit control. How people are entering, both people and traffic, their entrance and leaving of the place must be what? Must be controlled, must be regulated, as we have said from the previous point there. And then we also talk about the site. We also need to talk about drainage as also another point that must be considered. Drainage is very important also, to say that when considering site preparation, these are very important, to say how does the drainage work, or how is the drainage of the place. We might also need to understand the issue to do with electricity and water. the availability of electricity and water in place. It must be there. Site electricity and water must also be there on place. That is quite important. And we also talk about access to the road. It must be there also. Access to the road. It must be also another consideration that must be done when we are talking about site preparation preliminaries. And actually, we can talk about also, we might also need to talk about site clearance. Site clearance. Site clearance is very important, obviously, when the site is to be, when we are talking about preliminaries for site preparation, there is, of course, the need to clear the site. And then finally, maybe I would talk about soil testing. Soil testing is also another important point to consider. Soil testing is very important in order to understand the acidity and alkalinity of the soil. It is quite very important when we talk about site preparation. These are key requirements that need to be done when we talk about preparation or preparing for a site. And then state 5 major objectives of planning. These are basic business terms, major objectives of planning. Like I said, this subject is all about commerce. It's all about understanding business in general or commerce in general. So planning, it helps. It helps the important objectives of planning. It is one, we need to plan in order to estimate the activity resources, objectives to allow estimation, estimation of activity resources. Resources that might be needed in order to do the activity must be accounted or must be known. So planning can help that. When we need to do some work, some projects are to be done, we need also to know how much resources might or will be needed to avoid also waste of time and also finishing of resources before the work is done. It also helps to define activities. Activities, activities can be defined because of planning. We can channel us, we can be able to give specific cut of lines in terms of what work to be done. All those can be categorized and can be well spelled out. We also need to have it helps to it also, we are saying these activities, they are quite important also. We need to understand in terms of planning, objectives of planning is also to allow, uh, it can also allow allocation of resources. We are saying when resources are to be allocated, they are allocated according to what? According to plans. So what we need to understand is that it is very important to also to need to clear. We are saying it is very important that we can be able to also create clear objectives and focus. Create clear objectives and focus. They are created, they are clear and can be focused because of planning. We can also need to undertake risk assessment. Undertaking or evaluating possible chances of risk, undertaking risk assessment. Risk can be also assessed, possible risks that might also arise. They can also be checked. we can also need to ensure that we can also have to create clear and effective communication protocols to create clear and effective communication protocols, communication protocols or systems that can also be done in that respect. Communication protocols and systems can also be done because of planning. Planning helps to do that. We can also be able to plan for task dependencies to say what is it that needs to be done in what at what time. And then question next, we can also go to the next question. Mention 5 steps to be followed for programming. Steps to be followed on programming. One, we are saying the steps that need to be followed. We have to plan schedule management. Plan schedule management. We are saying the steps that must be followed. We have to have a plan of schedule management, how the schedule is to be run. We also have to define activities, as to say activities that needs to be done are actually outlined. Define activities. That is very important in terms of programming. We also need to understand the issue of sequencing activities, as to say arrange, sequencing, sequence activities is very important so that we know which one can start and when which one is following. It is all about lining up the activities. And then we can talk about estimate activity resources, estimate activity resources. Resources that might be needed within an activity can also be estimated. They need to be estimated in order for us to ensure that we have got ready supply of activity of resources. And then we can also estimate the duration of the activities. Estimate duration of activities. Estimate duration, how long is the activities going to last? That can also be estimated, the timelines as of when, how long is the activities gonna last. And then finally we develop the schedule. And then develop the schedule. Develop the schedule as the last thing, last activity, last step. So we are saying plan the schedule, define the activities, sequence or arrange the activities, make an estimation of resources that might be needed, estimate the duration of activities as timelines, and then finally we develop the schedule. That is, we develop the schedule, which is the last in terms of how this programming must be done. And then state the use of each of the following procedures. Procurement documents. Procurement, we say these are buying documents. These are documents that are used in terms of acquisition, in terms of buying. So receipt, we are saying receipt it is a document that is issued when the invoice has been paid. It actually it's a document issued when the invoice has been paid. A document issued after payment of the invoice. After payment of the invoice, after payment of the invoice. So we receive a receipt, or a customer is given a receipt when the invoice has been paid. Actually, it has its number and remarks on it. It can have the number of goods that are bought. It has its number, and it has its number and remarks, as to say what is the status remarks on it. The remarks is just to say paid, confirmed, and checked. That is the remarks that you can find on the receipt. There's some other times here we see companies are putting what they are putting. Companies are now putting, companies, what they do, they put stamps also, which can also be found on receipts. An invoice is a document that is sent to the client once once the order form has been accepted. It's a document sent to a client, which is sent to a client, It is sent to a client once the order form has been accepted. The order form has been accepted. We do have what is called once the order form has been accepted, we have an invoice. So what happens, it clarifies the amount for the material and the method of payment. It outlines amount of material, the amount of material, that is also the amount for the material and the method of payment. Amount for the material, it is the amount for material, amount for material and method of payment, amount for material and method of payment. So when we are talking about an invoice, we need to note that this document, what it actually does is that it clarifies the amount for the material and the method of payment, how much money is going to be paid for those material and the method of payment that can also be used. And then we have got the requisition form. Requisition form, it's an internal command document that is used to request the material that will be purchased. An internal organizational document, internal document used to request materials, used to request material. It is used to request materials that will be purchased. That will be purchased and be filled by the foreman. And is being filled by the foreman. That is a requisition form. The requisition form is an internal document that is used to request materials. When material is to be bought, and a requisition form is used, which actually identifies the material that will be purchased, and it must be filled by the foreman. And then we have got the order form. Order form, it is also called purchase order. Order form can also be called purchase order. Purchase form. So what happens is that it is used to place an order at a company that supplies the requested material. Is used to place an order uh, what happens, the order is placed at the company that supplies the requested material. Place an order at the company that supplies the requested material. When material has been requested, we are saying an order form is used in order to know that it is given to the company that supplies the material that is requested. That is an order form. And then we have got we have the delivery note. Delivery note. What happens with the delivery note? It actually it is issued when the material is physically delivered. A document issued after material has been physically delivered. When material has been physically delivered, it is a delivery note that is given, and then that needs to be signed by the recipient and comes with as a duplicate. Is when the material is physically delivered, and it must be signed by the receiver, and must be signed by a receiver, and it comes with a copy. It comes with a duplicate. It comes with a duplicate, this document. That is what you call a delivery note. Material is to be delivered. The recipient, the receiver signs that document, and then a copy is left with him or her, the one who is receiving, and then the deliverer comes or goes with another original copy of the document. So we say that is a delivery note. And then next question is saying list 5 characteristics, list 5 circumstances under which damage to materials can occur. Circumstances where damage to material can occur. We can talk about damage to materials can occur in terms of double handling of material. Double handling of material. When material is to be given or is to be carried between different or by two different people or amounts. We also talk about loading can happen, can cause damaging during loading of material, can also cause damaging of material. We also talk about offloading. Offloading, when material is being offloaded, we can also have damaging. You can also talk about transportation of material. Transportation of material. Or this can also cause what? Damaging of material. When material is transported, it can be damaged because of these ways. And then we can also talk about maybe even carrying on site. Carrying of material. It might also cause damaging. It might cause damage to material. Loading, I'm sure that you have seen when people are handling material, they also have possibilities, or they have got chances, or we have got chances whereby material can be damaged. So that can be known, that has to be known also. Uh, we can just go to the next question. It says list 3 types of shallow foundations and give a brief description of each types of shallow foundation. 3 types of shallow foundations and give descriptions, a brief description of each one. We can talk about strip foundation. Strip, we have what is called strip foundation, which is also called strip footings. Strip footings, what happens can be either shallow or deep, depending on the ground conditions. This depends on the ground conditions. Depends on ground conditions. Ground conditions, it depends on ground conditions, and it can be shallow or deep. Hence, can be shallow or deep. The strip footing, it can be shallow or deep. And then we also need to understand that when we look at it, the strip foundation, it consists of concrete pads that supports localized point loads. It consists of concrete pads, which are also put concrete pads. What do they do? These support localized point loads, supporting localized point loads. And then we can also maybe look at, we need also to look at raft foundation. You also have what is called raft foundation. Raft foundation. The raft foundation, we are also supposed to know that these provide continuous strips of support to walls that are built directly on top of it. This, sometimes you need to know that, don't confuse it. It's also called mat. It is also called mat foundations. Provides continuous support, continuous strip of support. Provides continuous strip of support. Strip of supporting. They provide continuous strip of support, which I want you to understand that the continuous strip of support that we are talking about, it is to walls that are built directly on top of it. To walls that are built directly on top of it. Walls built directly on top of it. And then we can also maybe lastly talk about the last type, which is also supposed to be just mentioned. The last type which we need to talk about is the pad foundation. The pad. We also have number 3, pad foundation. The pad foundation, what happens? The pad foundation, it is also uh, similar to what to strip foundation. It can be shallow or deep also, which also depend on the ground conditions and consist of concrete pads that support localized points. It is also shallow or deep. Shallow. It is also shallow or deep, depending on the shallow or deep, depending on ground condition, depending on ground conditions. It's the affect to say how is it gonna be like, depending on ground conditions. So I want you to understand that it also support localized what? It also support localized point loads. That is it. And then we have got number 5.2, under which grounds will you declare foundations to be weak? Substantiate your answer with 2 facts, where we say that the ground at foundations are weak. Under what circumstances, under what grounds do we say that our foundations are weak? One, we can say that this can be one, foundation leveling or settling, and which can also crack. So we have got foundation leveling, or settling. What happens there? It can be unstable and will crack. Maybe unstable and will therefore crack and will crack. Hence, we can say that the foundation is weak. We can also talk about situations where large cracks in the floor, we have got large cracks in the floor and on the external walls. When there are large cracks on the floor and external walls, that can also be another reason, and if ignored may cause what? The roof to collapse. May cause collapse of roof if ignored. That can be a situation again. And then we also have the last one, number 3. Number 3, we can also talk about situations where doors and windows will not close properly. When doors and windows do not properly close, they do not properly close, and then they do not properly close, and the glass panel may crack thereof. Glass panels may crack. That can also be a problem that might also need to be looked at. It might be also a problem that has to be what? That might cause, we can say foundations are weak when doors and windows do not properly close and glass panels may crack, that might be a reason to do with the stability of the foundation, to say that it's not symmetrical. And then we can also talk about the leveling, settling may also be unstable, which will cause cracks. And all this should also warrant foundation to be deemed what weak. They might cause foundations to be defined as weak. And then question next is saying state 3 advantages of a line and staff organization. This is to do with the structure of organization. 3 advantages of line staff organization. It is just to say there are straight channels of communication which are so defined. So what are the advantages of that? It allows speedy decision making. It allows for speedy decision making. It allows for speedy decision making. It is therefore less time consuming in decision making. That is an advantage. Number 2, you can also need to talk about, it's very simple. Simplicity is to follow and implement. It is to follow and implement the line and staff organization. It is quite easy to follow and implement. We also need to talk about is identification of authority and responsibility. Easy identification of authority and responsibility. Responsible persons within an organization can easily be identified. And then we are saying that it's an advantage in terms of a line and staff organization. It actually spells out who is on or responsible for what. And then the responsibility and accountability can also be easy. And then we can maybe also need to identify that good communication. It allows for good communication systems. It allows for good communication. Communication is so easy within an organization which uses line and staff, because these systems or the protocols, the lines of communication are straightforward. And then maybe lastly, I can talk about good coordination. Good coordination is another good advantage that we can also maybe have to mention with regards to that. So these are advantages of line and staff organization. Coordination, communication is easy. Authority and responsibility are well spelled out. Simplicity, it is very easy to implement and follow within an organization and allows for speedy decision making, which makes or which at the end of the day increases productivity. That is an advantage we can also give it. Next question is saying, the next question wants us to look at internal stakeholders are shareholders. Internal stakeholders are shareholders. So now it wants us to say that managers, employees in an organization, they are internal stakeholders. So draw an organization chart of the internal stakeholders showing their line of work. So we can just say, here I can give to say board of directors. Board of directors are also at the top there. So from board of directors, you can come to, from board of directors, we have got the CEO, chief executive officers here. Chief executive officer can come on this level, which would also pass the command or pass the communication to, we can have either the chief financial officer and chief operations officer, who can also come through the chief financial officer. Chief financial officer can come there. Chief financial officer, we can have that person, and chief operations officer also. Chief operations officer. From there, we can say the chief operations officer, they can all go and have their, they can also come, chief operations officer, they can also come here and down, come to, they can come down to, they can come down to managers and specialists. These can come down to managers and specialists. Managers and specialists, who we can say finally we have got what? We have got the workforce. So that can be just a simplified diagram or a simplified version of an organizational chart of internal stakeholders showing their line of work. As you can see, we were talking about line organization. So you can see that from the board of directors, we have got the chief executive officer, and then we have got the chief financial officer, chief operations officer, and then we have got the managers and specialists, who therefore finally works or contact with the what? With the final ground force, which is the workforce. That is now to say that the chart has been spelled out. That's how it goes. I want to thank you so much, class, for your time, and I wish you all the best in your exams that are to come. I just hope that you keep on following and connecting to Metric Hub. We are here to give you much support, as much support as you want. Please note that we are here to empower, we are here to develop, to coach and mentor. So at the end of the day, don't lose your NSFAS unnecessarily. Wellness Metric Hub is there for you. Let's meet now, connect and keep your NSFAS by just simply following these revision schedules that are loaded or loading time and again for you. Let's meet again in the next videos by you joining membership and also subscribing on the channel. Turn on your notification button. You keep connected for life and forevermore. Let's join now. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Thank you.